Welcome to my video blog. Until my trip to Paris in 2019, I hadn't spent much time at all in this part of Paris. I figured it was time for a change. Today we're going to stroll through the Coulee Verte, or Greenway, a 3-mile-long public park built on a former rail line that reaches from close to the Place de la Bastille almost all the way to the Château of Vincennes. Paris's promenade is one of the first projects in the world to repurpose an old railway line as an urban garden. The famous High Line in New York City only dates from 2009. Instead of this lovely park, they could have filled in the cut and put buildings on top. They wouldn't have had the best view in the world. One side overlooks the existing rail lines. Still, they would have been in Paris and quite close to downtown. Welcome to the Armchair Traveler 2022. I travel, observe, talk, read, and write. My blog will give you city walks, deep dives, and practical information and tips for the solo traveler and everyone. Our walk today begins at the Place de la Bastille. The Bastille was a historic prison, now long gone, in the area. There used to be a train station here which was demolished along with the above-ground train line that led to it. In its place, they built the Opera Bastille, which you can see in this photograph. I'm sure it's functional, has better facilities, and the neighborhood has benefited from its being here. Still, as with all modern construction, there was a lot of controversy about it. Not just about building the new opera house, but even about the architecture. I did some research preparing this video blog on the Opera Bastille, and as happens so often, got completely sidetracked. I've turned that research into a deep dive on the evolution of this square from just a gate in the city walls to today's new Opera Bastille on my WordPress blog. I will put a link to it in the description block of this video blog if you're curious. This used to be the Bastille Viaduct back when this was an active rail line rather than part of a park. It was nearly a mile long and had 64 arches or vaults, which you can see in this photo. The Greenway now is planted on top of it. The viaduct is about 33 feet above ground level in this area. The rail station at the Place de la Bastille was significantly above this area, so they raised up the entire rail line on a viaduct rather than trying to fill in the area. The Parisians have multi-purposed this area with shops, cafes, and green spaces, as well as the park. You can see in this photograph how they filled in some of the archways or vaults and have turned them into useful spaces. The idea was to draw people to the area by making it both attractive and livable, and I think they succeeded. René Dumont was a French agricultural engineer and an environmental politician. He once even ran for president of France, but only got about 1% of the vote. The architects who designed this walkway put in separate pathways for people and bicycles. Presumably, electric scooters should be sticking to the bike path. When I climbed down a lot of steps, I got access to the tunnel and I was confronted with this view. My eyes hadn't adjusted to the change in light level, so at first all I could see at the far end was a blob of light. I started to wonder what I'd gotten myself into. Fortunately, the lens on my camera adjusted somewhat faster. As my eyes were adjusting to the change in light, an odd sound began percolating through the constant buzz of my tinnitus. I could tell it was the sound of water. I walked a little further and I found this waterfall, which must have been installed when it was obvious they couldn't stop water leaking into the tunnel. One person in this photograph either couldn't read or didn't see the signs separating the pathways. This is a ramped scenic overlook. Notice how far below the surrounding ground level, even with the climb, you remain here. I took this photo on August 22nd. Paris is famous for the fact that residents who can afford it flee the city in August. This has changed even in my lifetime with the wider use of air conditioning, although the current energy crisis suggests the future of that is in doubt. Although it was August and it was hot, the overhanging trees made the walk shady and quite pleasant for me. We're drawing toward the end of our walk. From here I popped up and took a bus to the Chateau de Vincennes. I think it might have been faster for me to walk. This is my iPhone panoramic photo of the Chateau de Vincennes, showing from the left the King's Pavilion, the Donjon or Tower, Sainte-Chapelle, and the Queen's Pavilion. Join me next time in exploring this wonderful monument and grounds here on The Armchair Traveler. Thanks for joining me today. If you found this video interesting or helpful, please give it a like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It's free to you, but it will help the channel grow. Travel sites and history can be word-heavy, especially background information, so some of my video blogs have companion pieces with more for you. There are also pieces which don't make it into video format at all. You can check them out on my WordPress blog site. The address is armchairtraveler2022.wordpress.com. If you'd like to keep up when I post new blogs or video blogs, or are interested in tweet-sized posts, follow me on Twitter. My handle there is @armchair2022. I will tweet updates for new posts, and when I begin traveling again, will take you along in short form on Twitter.